over from the Mezzotints. Moses and then subsequently Jacob formed really a shipping empire. Jacob was the chief agent to supply the British, especially during the French and Indian War, with materials and supplies. He's also capitalizing on the trade that's going down to the Caribbean and for the sugar plantations. We might also guess that enslaved people were also carried on these ships.
And it's not until 100 years later that Britain will outlaw slavery in its colonies.
One of the major multinational corporations that financed the Atlantic slave trade very early was the Dutch West India Company. And of course, as we know, the Jews had been chased out of Spain, chased out of Portugal, and the Netherlands was the one area, Holland, which welcomed them to some degree. And this was right around the same time, in the 15th century, that the slave trade was gearing up. So they were geographically positioned and positioned in other ways to become an important element in the financing of the Dutch West India Company, which was a major multinational corporation, involved in the slave trade. In the early days, the 17th century, they were among, in fact, they were a major element in the slave trade in places like Brazil, places like Suriname in South America, places like Curacao in the West Indies, places like Jamaica, Barbados, and other places as well. I discovered that they were also very well positioned in this country, that many of the slave traders, many of the people who brought slaves across the Atlantic from this country in colonial times were in fact Jewish ship owners and slave traders. Some of the best known names in that traffic coming out of colonial North America were people like Aaron Lopez, one of the best known names of all, from Newport, Rhode Island, and others. I discovered the Jews owned many of the ancillary corporations that sort of fed into the slave trade. For example, rum distilling was one of the major areas